All right. So testing 1 2 1 2. All right. So testing 1 2 1 2. All right. Well, good. It looks like So testing 1 2 1 2. All right. Well, good. It looks like So testing 1 2 1. Okay. Um. Sorry about that last issue. If you kind of tuned in and then heard all that squeaking sound, apologies about that. Um, so this is gonna be a movie review, and I don't know if you've seen this movie on Gaia or whatnot. It was actually overall it was all right. It was pretty good. I would say I appreciated it. There are just a few issues I have with it. So it's a structure of space and time. So to start out, overall the movie was good. The information was, to me, in my knowledge, 80%, like 80% okay. The correlation of the symmetry of number, planets, and the human body was awesome. And for that reason alone, I would go out and say watch it. My critique though is that this brother's analysis of Kemetic philosophy and his attribution of deities to certain events and planets, that was off. And it was an individually innocent mistake. However, it was culturally malicious, and I don't know if this was his intention, if it was his fault or whatnot, whatever. But it's definitely something that was happening and something that he did. So initially, so this is what he says. He says that 6,048 is the key number of the yugas of Indian philosophy. So if you watch this movie, you're going to notice that it's he does a mix of Indian philosophy, and its derivative Buddhist philosophy, as well as tying in Kemet in there, which is wild and it doesn't fit. But all right, so a yuga is a number of years and a time in which a certain level of consciousness is on a planet or within the universe or a certain part of the universe. The brother then tells us, kind of like just randomly, about a Mahakulpa being a span of 10 years or 10 yugas, giving us a total of 60,480 years for one Mahayuga or Mahakulpa. Now, he talks about there being four different types of yuga. So the first yuga is a yuga of higher consciousness. People in this time, they're attuned to the higher levels of energy, and their minds are naturally tuned into balance and structure in the universe without having to be told and study it. They naturally bring balance to all, uh, that they're around and to everybody that they come into contact with. Now, the second age is the Treta Yuga, or the age of the three fires, is what he's saying. And it's the beginning of technology, ceremonies related to death and burial, so on and so forth. Essentially, you're getting a devolution, a further and further devolution into consciousness, and more grosser and grosser levels of human experience and understanding. And this third age is called the Vapara Age, and it's the bronze or copper, and it's the age of doubt. It was the emergence of fire and the final and perfected human form. So that's what he is saying. This is all just information coming from this video per se. Now I could add to it if I wanted, but I'm not. So this fourth age is the age of the Kali Yuga, and in this age, talks about there being great wars and destruction. So he then goes on to talk about these mathematical number combinations. A Kali Yuga is 1 times 6,048, and that gives us 6,048 clearly. A Dvapara Yuga is 2 times 6,048, which gives us 12,096, so on and so forth. You can see what's on the board. Treta Yuga is 18,992. Sattva Yuga is 24,000. Also 192. I kind of made a mistake right there. And these are the various time frames of these different yugas. Now remember, this is information from his video that I'm talking. I'm really just giving a brief introduction or summary of what I think. So now each number is not a friction, but a fraction of an original unity. One times this was I found this pretty interesting. 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 gives you the number of 5040, which is the radius of the Earth and the Moon. 7 times 8 times 9 times 10 also gives you the radius of 5040. So what he is saying is that 7 right here is the golden mean, and it's called the golden mean because the numbers up to 7 give you the radius of the Earth and the Moon, and the numbers from 7 to 10, if you multiply them, give you the radius of the Earth and the Moon. I did find that part very interesting. But this is where I just disagree. Or not disagree, it's just off. So when he began to make the comparisons, he compared Set to Saturn, saying they sound the same. In Kemetic philosophy, honestly, Saturn was related to the deity Sekert, and Set is more or less related to the planet Mercury. And so this correlation started throwing me off. So this is where I began to think like you really should stay away from philosophy here, because the relations of Osiris to Sirius is off unless you take it solely from a Greek influence perspective. The Africans called this god Asar, not Osiris, so that's a superficial connection of Osiris and Sirius. The rest of his reporting on Asar is okay. Now, I do have to question where he got Set as being the destroyer of the moon. I've never heard that. It could be true. I'm just telling you, I've never heard it. So now this, he kind of jumps. Honestly, he does jump around a whole lot in this video. So after speaking about Set, he jumps right to Buddha and Christ, saying that the Puranas say that Buddha is the avatar of the Kali Yuga. And the teachings of the Buddha contain the formula of rising above ego consciousness. Hold on one second. So overall, but this is when he talks about this stuff, it's kind of like, man, you're kind of reaching, you're kind of guessing right here to me, because that's not what goes down here. I'm kind of guessing. So now he also makes a connection between the teaching of self-realization and capitalism, and then says that the theory of Buddhism became capitalism. So I don't know where that even comes from, because capitalism developed in a Western context with the expansion of colonial powers working for the state. And then and that's it. That's strictly how this particular form of capitalism came about. This was exemplified in the idea that Christopher Columbus made his voyage in the name of the Spanish, made a mistake, the king and queen. This meant that all wealth found first went to king and queen, and thus to the country, and it was the American experiment. Capitalism began to evolve here in America most readily. Now, he also says this remarkable aspect of his teachings is that it brings about the destructive attitudes that lead to the destruction of the earth through our almost insane obsession with consumption. I have no clue where he got that from. That doesn't make any sense in relationship to the Buddha's teaching. He also gave a formula which would allow people who are aware of and sensitive to the nature of time to be able to confront this direction. I'm still not knowing where he's getting this from. He's not quoting anything, he's just talking. Now, then he jumps to the relationship of breath to the universe. So he says 1 human breath takes 4 seconds if there's no real issues, if you're completely healthy, so on and so forth. And then he says 60 breaths overall is equal to the time it takes the Earth to rotate 1 degree, meaning, wow, that the Earth rotates 1 degree every 4 minutes. So in a complete day, the average human should breathe 21,600 breaths. And this, if you break this up, this is 2,160, if you break it up by tens. And anybody who's familiar with astrology knows that 2,160 is the duration of one sign in the zodiac. It's also the measurement of the diameter of the moon in miles. Now, Then he started to go on into, some uh, how the ancients used to take measurements. So he said a fathom is the length of both arms extended, and 21 million. I don't know why that's pretty intense. I don't know where he got these numbers from. 21,600,000 fathoms arm spans times 72, which is the height of man, is 1,550,200,000 inches. I have no clue what these numbers are referring to. It doesn't really make sense to me. It may make sense to others, but he really doesn't go into depth and detail about how this makes sense. So we're just left to wonder what he's talking about. Um, Now he says the equatorial circumference of the Earth is 1,577,727,962 inches. So that's probably the relationship he's trying to make there. But where is the set? There is no set circumference for man. That doesn't make any sense right there. So the relationship between the Earth's frozen ice cap and the cerebral cortex, that's conjecture that he makes. Then he goes on about the great drought that began at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. He says archaeologists confirm this. No, they don't. And what archaeologists? You're not, he doesn't quote any sources from anything. That's kind of off. Then he comes up with the numbers 3606 has the beginning of the Kali Yuga, saying this is confirmed. Who's confirming all of this? This doesn't make any sense. So then he talks about the Egyptian measure of man, which is relative to the forms and structure of the earth. He then goes on to discuss the Egyptian forms of measurement. He talks about anthropocosm, which is the measuring proportions of the human body contained the significant dimensions of the entire universe. Now, then he does a review of the number 18.618. And then he says 18.618 is the number of days in Eclipse Year, which is 346.62. So I'm going to let you go ahead and check this video out really fast. So then he talks about an eclipse year is calculated using the days between successive conjunctions of the sun with the same node of the moon's orbit. Now, the moon itself is positioned and is the exact size necessary so that when it is eclipsed, it covers the sun, which is 93 million miles away. The sun is 400 times larger than the moon. The moon is 1/400th the distance between the Earth and the sun. Then he goes on to make all these other correlations, which are interesting. I mean, it's very interesting, like, what is the meaning of these numbers? He goes on to say more, a lot more, but that was, by and large, it as far as the movie review is concerned. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something, and I'll be up with you later. Remember to like and share the video if you found that it was informational and you liked it. All right, peace.